So I shouldn't curse.
No, you can't.
No,
No,
yeah,
you can say it. Yeah.
Yes.
Because, you know what I realized? Like, you grow up in New York and the word cocksucker, everybody's like, hey, you fucking cocksucker. And then now we're living in an age where if you break that word down,
it's
you can't use it
homophobic.
anymore.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
Alec Baldwin got in trouble for saying that word.
Well, I think if you suck cock, you can say it, no problem.
Yeah,
but you shouldn't call somebody
derogatory.
How do you know who's really a cocksucker and who's really a cocksucker? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like I would never use the word cocksucker about somebody who sucks cock. Nor would I use the F word that used to,
reference gays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still does. You just
for a
stopped
gay
using-
person.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just somebody who acts like a fucking pussy.
Sure, and that word too.
But you can't say that either.
You can say pussy, can't
No, you can't. No, if you here's how it works.
Not
if you were Sean Connery and you said pushy.
Well, Sean Connery especially shouldn't say it since he's the guy who defended hitting women. But no, you don't say pussy because
he defended hitting pushy.
I don't think
defended hitting pushy galore.
I don't think.
This is Radio Gold.
Yes.
Ron Perlman is here. Let me give him a proper introduction if you don't recognize.
Why bother? We're on a roll.
He's an actor. You've seen him in television series Beauty and the Beast, the films Alien Resurrection, Blade 2, the Hellboy films, and, of course, Sons of Anarchy. His new film is titled Asher, and he stars in it. He produced in it, and it's out in theaters and video on demand December 7th. What an honor to have you in here.
Great to be here, Pete.
Thank you very much.
Great to be
a
here.
lot of people, I thought at one point you were a cocksucker.
I'm a cocksucker.
But I.
You know,
but
when
no longer,
Sean Connery says any word, you cocksucker, it just takes on something else, right?
Is anybody else like that? Is there any other actor that you work with that just the way that they talk, it almost doesn't matter what they say, they're either funny, intimidating, you're
Michael Rappaport.
What do you got on him?
He just,
Always a nervous wreck?
No.
Always an angry, nervous wreck?
I'm very good friends with Michael.
I love that guy.
And he's so colorful, and but he has this podcast that he does.
Yeah, what's it about?
It's about whoever he's interviewing.
Oh, really?
I mean, I would hope. But he identified me as a silverback Jew.
Oh. How did
I
you
don't
respond?
know. I don't know.
Is he Jewish? Can he say that?
What road am I going down?
Well,
Yes, he can say that.
Speaking of,
as can I.
let's.
But I'll probably get in trouble for it anyway.
You said as can I, and let me just mention Ashkenazi, right over there.
Ashkenazi.
He's 10%.
Got some, in my blood. It's the only thing that makes me at all slightly interesting.
You have a support group you go to?
Yeah, at a synagogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even though he's Catholic.
Yehei Shmei Rabbo Mivorach.
Were you bar mitzvahed?
Absolutely.
Ron Perlman, you were. I
That's
read.
the only phrase I remember. I was bar mitzvahed.
Baruch atah Hanoi.
I was bar mitzvahed. I was somewhere between 12 and 14.
It's around the time.
It's coming back to me now.
How was it?
Somewhere around there, I got bar mitzvahed.
Did you?
I still have bonds that I haven't cashed in.
They got to be worth a lot. That says something about your career. I mean, you haven't needed them.
Do they continue to mature?
Yeah, absolutely.
They do?
Don't trust me.
Oh, I'm going to just let them roll over then, man. Roll over, Beethoven.
You should regift them. I think they probably have your name on them. Are you still religious? Are you religious at all? No.
I'm
ethnically Jewish?
I'm spiritual.
What does that mean to you?
It means I have a very, very deep and humble regard for a higher being that I feel is all and everything and everywhere, and that I communicate with him.
Him.
For lack of a better word, him. For lack of a better word, God. But it's this entity, that we've assigned stuff to. Religion has assigned names to it and dogma to it and laws and precepts and stuff. But regardless of that, my way of communicating with him is very quiet, very, very private. I don't need an edifice. I don't need to be down on my hands and knees. I don't need to put on a tie. I don't need to, spend a day fasting. Right. It's
How often do you communicate? How often do you practice that?
Some
practice?
days are better than others.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, man. Some days you're just like, feet. Don't leave me now.
When you've been.
So that's God to me. Please get me out of here, motherfucker.
Are you saying that?
And I'm happy to call my God motherfucker.
Because why not?
Because he's one of my homies.
It's not going to punish you. You don't believe in a punishing God, a God who wants to find revenge.
I do believe in a punishing God. I believe that that the earth is being punished right now for its sins. I believe that
creating humans.
That these fires and these tsunamis and these hurricanes that are growing in frequency and
intensity
and dynamicism are going to be the ultimate arbiter and showing us, what pipsqueaks we are. I feel like he has a hand in that.
But you are Ron Perlman, and therefore you're one of you'll be plucked and you'll get to live in the biodome.
I'm 68
people.
by the time. Yeah. By the time this shit really hits, it won't matter. I'm like I'm done anyway.
Well, what do you say to people?
I'm technically retired.
But there are people that are your age.
I worry about my kids.
There are people at your age or older say, "I don't care. Won't happen on my watch. So why should I care?"
Because I have kids and I have young kids and those kids are at that age where they're thinking about having kids of their own.
Mm-hmm.
And can you imagine what that kid's reality is going to be if we're seeing things of this scope and this magnitude and this frequency now? What's going to happen in 30 years?
Who or what do you blame for what
greed,
greed,
self-centeredness, lack of humility, and the funny thing is that there's just all these people going around saying that they're religious and saying that they're spiritual, and they're just fucking taking a dump on everything. And they're as un-Jesus-like as you could possibly get.
Right. What do you think of the person who considered themselves to be a devout Christian but also a supporter of President Donald Trump?
Well, there's a hypocrisy there.
How?
I mean, if I got to explain it to you, bro.
You don't have to explain it to me, Ron Perlman. I'm just
oh, you mean your listeners?
I'm just setting you up, sir.
I think the guy is without a moral compass. I mean, I think he's completely bankrupt of any of the things in the human condition that make life beautiful and worth having a respect and a revere for. Whether he was the leader of the free world or not, that's who the guy is.
How do you how do you see the disconnect?
If you are somebody who claims to have a relationship with God, and you are able to justify having him as your leader, you better go back and fucking check your relationship with God, man, because they just don't line up. I'm sorry. I'm not your rabbi. I'm not a guy you need to listen to. I'm just a dude on the microphone in front of my face right now. But I'm telling you, man, you need to check your shit. You need to check your shit.
I appreciate that you said that directly to Alfred. That meant
well, he's Ashkenazi, man.
Right.
Him and me are like
and
bros.
a huge Trump supporter. So
he's not. But I saw your Twitch.
I'm deeply religious and a Trump supporter.
He's not. Do you, Ron Perlman?
I'm a rabbi and
you
a Trump
think I'm
supporter.
worried that I offended you? I don't remember what I said 5 minutes ago.
I don't know where I am right now.
Me neither.
Ron Perlman is here to talk about also the film Asher, which you star in and produce.
Which in the Holy Land they call Esher.
You play a former Israeli Mossad agent.
He's not formally Israeli. He is Israeli.
Once Israeli,
but
always.
he was Mossad trained, and now makes his living as a paid assassin in New York City.
I love the film, man. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I appreciate. You're one of the very first people I've spoken to about
Yeah.
it. It just got finished, and it's about to, come out into the universe and be subject to all the slings and arrows. So to get any kind of heartfelt respect,
Well,
I assume it was heartfelt. But to get any kind of positive feedback on it.
Well, you're just such a good actor. Your face, your choices, the characters, the roles, and the story. I don't get you. You're not typical in any way. You're a very original looking and acting guy, and I feel like very intimidated by you now and on screen. I feel like you really could kill me now, even though you're how old? Almost. What did you say? 60?
68.
But when I watch you in this role,
I feel great.
You
thought I was 60.
Did you say you're 68?
Yeah.
I still feel scared of you, just based on your acting.
Well, I could.
I think in the end I could
kill you right now.
I don't know if you could or not, but I feel like you could. I think
Let's
I
put
might.
This to the test.
I think I might. Do you want to fight right now, Ron Perlman? I don't have it in me because I have too much like for you.
For the people out there who can't see us, I'm taking off my jacket right now. I'm stripping down to my.
God damn, you smell good.
I'm stripping down to my briefs.
And for people who can't see you, I'm arming up.
And we're going to get it on.
I have a weapon.
We're going to throw down.
Have you been in a real fight?
Choice of keeping your tube socks on, I thought was an
odd
choice.
It's
but
weird. That is
each
intimidating.
his own and go for it.
I paid a lot for those socks.
And the straps to hold them up seems a little old-timey, but whatever, to each their own.
Effective.
Have you ever...
You've never seen my socks fall, ever.
In any role.
Nor will you.
In this film, Asher, your character spent a lot of time on his shoes, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
He is a meticulous guy.
He's got a style.
He's an assassin.
He's got a personal style that is interesting. There's an elegance to the way he moves through life. The little things that he can surround himself, that he's allowed to do that remind him that he's alive, which he's limited himself to because he won't have a woman in his life because anybody who comes close to him is in danger physically because of the line of work he's in. So he's built a little world for himself that reminds him of his elegance and of his sophistication, his appreciation of things of beauty, even though his day-to-day existence is totally at odds with all of that. Which is what makes him like a quintessential 70s character, where he's like he's a hero, but he's also an anti-hero. He's very flawed, but he has these qualities that you make him really, really watchable and compelling.
Is there any Ron Perlman?
Well, Ron Perlman was obsessed with getting this film made because I see this character almost like as a valedictory, as a guy, the aging gunslinger who knows that, he's way past the crest, and he's on the wrong side of the hill, and he's heading down fast, and his best days are all behind him. He'll never see them again. He can hardly remember what it felt like to be the essential Asher. Now he's a guy who's being passed over and he's becoming disposable.
We've seen a lot of depictions of Jews as weak and victims of crime and obviously genocide. I love films where the badass is also Jewish. Mm-hmm. I like that. I like to see Jews kick ass.
Well,
this guy's former Mossad, or is Mossad? Former Mossad, always Israeli.
And all this network of assassins that he associates himself with, which is run by Richard Dreyfuss' character named Avi.
Oh, so good.
There's Avi, there's Uzi, there's Abram, there's Lior. It's all Israeli guys.
Yeah.
But the Israeli guys are faced with their mortality 24/7, and so for them to adopt a position where it's kill or be killed, where we need to arm ourselves with a skill set that gives us some sort of an edge that allows us to protect our way of life and also our families, our wives, our kids, and everything like that, is just part of the game. I mean, they're in one of the most savagely polarized neighborhoods in the world. Everybody hates everybody in the Middle East. And the Israelis are just like, hey, man, they don't wish us well. So, we got to do what we got to do. So I understand the philosophy behind the training and the skill set that ends up being the character that we come to know as Asher. I understand it. And I understand his revere for doing it in a way that's respectful and professional, and like those are qualities that I have a great deal of revere for myself and in my own chosen profession. So I see a lot of Ron and Asher, but the aging gunslinger, the guy who's trying to figure out, like, did I leave anything behind? He's asking himself a lot of legacy questions. That was the most personal part of playing the guy for me.
Are you also in denial of health issues, like the character? Are you a guy who's I'm not seeing doctors. I don't need to take care of myself?
Well, that's my go-to. That's my first response to any time that something starts to happen that makes
denial.
Denial,
it's
or
not...
like it's mostly just, hey, I got this.
Yeah.
All right, fuck the doctors. I got this. I don't need no fucking doctors.
It's not a well-advised approach.
It's not
the healthiest choice.
It's not a well-advised approach because a lot of things can happen and do.
You say this character, he avoids women. He's an assassin. We're talking with Ron Perlman about the new film Asher, and yet we are introduced to a love interest in this film. And she happens to be one of the most talented actresses of our time. But she also, and I didn't want to say this first, she also happens to be one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever seen. Your co-star is Famke Janssen. Am I saying her name right?
Famke Janssen.
Now, you produced this film, so I'm guessing you had some say in the casting there.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, sir.
Thank you very much.
She is fantastic.
She's exquisite in the film.
Yeah.
And you're right. She's a beautiful, beautiful girl. Inside and out, and we were lucky to get her.
I have so many other questions for you, and very little time left with Ron Perlman. But you have had just an amazing career. I mean, it would seem that you've done most of what you want to do in your career, and I don't know that you're not slowing down anytime soon. Any regrets? Anything that you haven't done? Anybody you haven't worked with? And then I obviously want to talk about how you become such an outspoken activist on issues as well. And maybe you haven't become that. Maybe I wasn't familiar with it. You've always been that way. Forgive me. I've just seen your rants, and I love them. I cheer for them.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Where do I start? No regrets.
Nothing?
No regrets. A lot of ups and downs, but no regrets, because every one of the downs was where I, really did all my growing and learning and discovery. You never really grow and learn during the good times. It's always the tough times where you're having to question yourself and your grit and all that stuff. So no regrets at all. There's still a ton of people that I want to work with, but if it all ended right now, I'm really, really good. I'm at this place in my life where every single thing I do is just gravy, because pretty much anything I ever dreamt about when I was always been a big dreamer, but all my dreams have come true and then some. So at this point, everything is gravy. If I get to work with the Coen brothers or Paul Thomas Anderson or Paolo Sorrentino, that would be delicious gravy. But if I don't, hey man,
the cup runneth over. So it's just bonus time.
I just get such a kick out of watching their films. So whether I work with them or not, that's a constant.
Well, all of them are big listeners to the show, so I'm sure.
Yeah, no, especially Paolo.
Yeah.
Paolo, like when we break bread, we're gonna talk. Never mind.
I think he's convinced.
The activism thing is. All my friends were on Twitter long before I was. I always thought it was like really like
lame, stupid,
pushish. Get on Twitter. First of all, the name of Twitter, tweeting,
right.
To tweet. Therefore, you're a pushy, and I resisted it, and then I got talked into it for a variety of reasons. I can't remember what they were, but they weren't particularly compelling. And then I got sucked into this vortex of realizing that I really, really am obsessed with everybody knowing exactly what I'm thinking at all times. And so I started to really become a prolific tweeter. And then all of these forces of the universe started to converge upon the American human condition. And I discovered things about myself that I didn't know. You know, I
Like what?
I didn't.
Twitter helped you discover
I
things you
didn't know how outraged I could become at the assault on the things that are truly worth living for, as I could. I don't know. I'm ambivalent about this whole thing that I do, which is, you know, I tweet much more so than is healthy. But there's another side of me that feels as though we're living in a time where the things that are most beautiful about our way of life are under assault, and that the people who have been charged with defending those things are in the middle of one of the worst derelictions of duty in the history of our country, and the ability to sit on the sidelines and not take a position is not an option.
Well, a lot of actors don't. I don't like having them on this show.
Well,
but a lot of actors sit on the sidelines because they don't want to divide. You know, I don't want my fans or people that might watch this show or movie to not watch it because I've stated my opinion. What do you say to them?
I'm not here to give advice or judge, and I'm 68 years old, so it doesn't really fucking matter, you know, whether you come see my movies or don't, and you decide to like boycott me. I don't give a fuck. I'm already collecting Social Security. Please don't tell the government that I'm also, you know, doing 2 TV shows and 5 movies,
and that you have bonds that are still out there.
I have bar mitzvah bonds that haven't been cashed. Don't tell the government that.
They don't.
Luckily,
listen.
No one listens
they don't
to
listen.
this show.
No, well, only the filmmakers you mentioned earlier. Other than that, no.
Paolo, it's Ronnie.
And Sean Connery, surprisingly enough, yeah, he's a big fan.
Pussy.
And a bunch of people who think when you say pussy that you're being derogatory towards women. You're saying women are weak when you call someone a pussy.
Me derogatory toward women?
Well, when you say when you say that, when you call someone a pussy, when you say it like that, it's different because it's Connery.
How in the world can you interpret a derogatoriness? Is that a word?
Because if I say you've got balls, it means you're brave. But if you're a pussy, it means you're weak. That's how. That's how it's heard.
Depends on the context.
Do you have balls?
Is my answer to you. I used to. My wife has them in a jar.
That's right.
And some formaldehyde on her side of the bed. I haven't.
Formaldehyde.
She holds them up every once in a while and says, "Remember these? You motherfucker."
What is it? We've talked about a couple of different issues that you touched on, but is there anything that gets you the most angry, the most hot and animated? I was going to mention this to you because I knew you're coming in and you're an outspoken guy. You're ethnically Jewish. And the other night and you're a performer. The other night at a play in Baltimore, a performance of Fiddler on the Roof. I don't know if you heard about this. A man just stood up at Fiddler on the Roof and started screaming. This happened in Baltimore the other night. Heil Hitler! Heil Trump! This happened in America in 2018, a couple nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see Jews being slaughtered in their synagogue, I mean, is the rise in anti-Semitism, the rise in hate crimes and that stuff, how do you see that? How do you understand that?
It makes me cry deeply to my core that we're living in a time now where this kind of stuff is fostered, it's encouraged, it's empowered, and it's become. I mean, it obviously it's always been there, but there's never been somebody who is at the forefront of the leadership in our country that has empowered it and turned it into something that people are willing to come out into the light of day with to this extent. And we worried that would actually start turning into, you know, real bloodshed, and we're seeing it happen, and I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm just It's the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Well, I love that you're speaking out. I know that's good, and I love that you're so prolific on Twitter, almost 1 million followers. But do you think that the president himself is an anti-Semite, a white supremacist? Do you think he just fosters that? People will say his daughter's Jewish. How could he be an anti-Semite? Which I think is like saying,
I think if his daughter was indicted by Mueller, his first response would be, "Thank God it wasn't me."
I think you're right.
I think if his sons were, his first response would be, "Jesus Christ, I thought he was coming for me. Thank God it's only Don Jr. and Eric, those schmucks." I think that's what he thinks.
Yeah.
I think that he's that bankrupt of even loyalty to his own family. I think he's only about himself, and he has no relationship to the greatness of this country.
So why do you think people like him so much? Why do you think people think he cares about them and their future?
Because of how much they hated Obama, a lot of them. A lot of it is that. A lot of it is the swing toward, like, whoosh, fucking glad that's over with, you know. And then there's a lot of people who are so angry that their lives suck that he's playing right into their sense of like, you know, he's anesthetizing them into thinking that he actually gives a fuck about how shitty their lives are, and he's actually doing something about it. He's not. He's giving tax breaks to the 1%, and he's in tariff wars, and he's
If you had the opportunity, Ron Perlman, to sit down with Donald Trump, have you ever met him? Did you know him? You know him? You're a New Yorker.
No, I never met
What
him.
would you say to him if you sat down?
I wouldn't sit down with him.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't want to be in the same room with him.
Ron Perlman, big fan. Loved you in Hellboy. Love this new film, Asher. What would you say? Love Asher. Everybody go see it. If he was promoting Asher, would you say thank you?
No. No, I mean, like I said before, you know, you decide you don't want to see my stuff because Breitbart tells you, you know, boycott Ron Perlman. I don't give a fuck if you come see my shit or not. I don't give a shit whether you like it or not. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me.
You're the great.
If you happen to like my movie,
I do,
then you know, phenomenal. But
I really liked the movie. I loved Asher, and you star in it, you produce it, comes out in theaters and video on demand. Do I have this right? December 7th? Do I have it all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. At Pearl Mutations. I'm sad we're out of time. I could talk to you forever.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, bro.
But I know we have to fight after this.
I'm already in my skivvies.
What's your first move? Give me that at least. Tell me where you're going. You going high? You going low?
First of all, I'm going to have an energy drink. Preferably dark chocolate.
And then it's on. That's your routine.
And then I'll see.
Ron Perlman, everybody.
I'm going to suss you out. I'm going to say, what's he got? What's he got?
A mustache and
Probably going to take part of my energy drink and pour it on the floor so you slip.
Sneaky. Just like Asher would.
Just the same way.
With an umbrella.
Because I'm an elite killer.
Thank you very much for coming in. It's great to meet you, man. Really appreciate it. Ron Perlman, the film is Asher. Go see it. We'll be right back.